So if you're curious on how you can claim your sacred vulnerability in an unsafe and unaccommodating world, then I invite you to keep watching because this video is for you. Hi, I'm Brittany Rochelle and I'm an anger alchemist. I help women alchemize their rage to live magnificently melanated lives. And today I'm talking all about how you can claim vulnerability in a world that is fundamentally unsafe. So many of us, especially Black women, there was something on Instagram that was like, describe a Black woman without using the word strong. Like, so often just being strong or being tough or being hard is ingrained into the way that we think of ourselves and our identity. And obviously rightfully so, because we face so many challenges. And specifically working with melanated women, we are really at the intersection, not just of sexism, which you hear a lot of like super ignorant white women talking about how horrible the patriarchy is, but not really understanding what it's like to be at the intersection of both sexism and racism and homophobia and so many other intersectionalities and really identities that have intersectionality in the way that impacts our daily lives. And I think so often, so many of us don't have the ability to really relate to our own vulnerability and really don't have a place where we get to be vulnerable because we live in a world that systemically oppresses and represses that part of ourselves. And so in this video, I'm excited to share with you a really simple tool that you can do right now, super accessible in your own home or in your own space, that helps you cultivate this really needed vulnerability. I know for myself and for so many of our clients, when we get back in touch with our vulnerability, with our quietness, with our own innocence in a world that fundamentally does not really accommodate that or even encourage or create a space where we can do that in public. It's so powerful, deeply restorative, and it's actually a counterintuitive, very empowering thing to get in touch with your vulnerability and to have the safety to do that. So let me talk you through this process. So in this process, it's really a maybe 3-step process that's pretty simple. The first step is creating a container for yourself. So this means having a physical space. Maybe you go in your room and close the door, or maybe you have some space in your own apartment or in your home where you can do this like sacred vulnerability practice. And essentially you have this space that's a safe area for you to really drop in and let your body and mind experience things and go to places that maybe in your everyday life you aren't allowed to go to. Number 2 is to set an intention. And this is so powerful because we know that our minds are incredibly powerful. And even if we go into places that maybe we've never been before, or we might be scared, or we might be thinking that if we tap into our vulnerability, it could be really overwhelming, or it could be really sad, or it could be something that you're not going to be able to handle. So if you set an intention to go through this process gently, to hold yourself with loving presence, to not go too hard or too fast or to be overwhelmed, or you can set an intention to get a ton of really great, amazing insights from this practice. But really taking some time to set an intention and to be mindful about the way you want to go throughout this practice. And number 3 is to really allow yourself to breathe, connect with your own body, however you do that. So that can be through breath, that can be through dance, that can be through rocking, that can be through shaking, that can be standing, sitting, laying down, however it comes naturally to you around vulnerability. So you can ask yourself the question, what would it be like for me to get in touch with my own vulnerability? And this could lead you pretty much anywhere you want to go, but essentially in this container, in this safe physical space, and maybe setting a timer for 5 or 10 minutes and just allowing yourself to get a little bit curious, and whatever comes up, working with that, breathing, dancing, rocking, shaking, crying, snot crying with that, and then asking yourself, I wonder what's a layer deeper even underneath this. And it really is this very free-flowing, very somatic, body-based way for you to get in touch with your own vulnerability. So Tamika Mallory said, "I don't want to be known as an invincible Black woman." And I think that speaks for so many of us who want to be able to get in touch with our own innocence, with our own vulnerability, with our own tenderness, our softness, that in the world that we live in is often not allowed or strategically beaten out of us. And so when we consciously over time cultivate this real vulnerability, this real space for tenderness, it can be so powerful in the way that we show up in our personal relationships and our political relationships and our relationships on our job, because we have the power to create a space where we feel safe enough to be vulnerable, even if the only place where that exists is in the world that we create for ourselves. So before I go to the next step, if you love this content and you're curious to learn more and get more tools and tricks that are built for your lived experience, I invite you to check out my totally free ebook called Melanin: A Reclamation, where I share even more content. So I'd invite you to try on this practice every day, even for 5 to 10 minutes for a period of 7, 14, and 21 days, and explore what comes up. For myself, when I first did this work, I cried just a lot because there was just so much grief. And then over time, it blossomed into a power reclamation, into a sexuality reclamation, into showing up in my business differently, showing up in my job differently, and showing up with my friends and in my own personal relationships way more empowered, because I had a base of safety and support for a vulnerable, tender, innocent part of myself. So please check this out. I would love to know what you think. And if you want to get even more content, my free ebook, Melanin: A Reclamation, is absolutely here for you. You can click the link to check that out, and I will see you in my next video.